Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Elite World, and those who are watching me for the first time, I request you all please subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon to get all the updates about my channel. And those who are already member of my channel, I request you all please share my videos with your friends and ask them to subscribe and make this family bigger. So now let's talk about today's topic. So earlier in many videos I told you about the importance of background study to get good marks in exams and to get proper knowledge of age or the whatever in your syllabus. So this video is about the background study of European classical literature. Most of you have this paper European classical literature in your first sem syllabus. So I think this video will be helpful for you. I thought that this studying all the things which are there in the background study, for learning those things you have to read all the books. I will give you the summary of the things, like the things you should know for reading this. So the first question that comes to our mind when we study European classical literature: what is the meaning of the word classic? So like, forget about European classical literature, forget classical literature, everything, forget everything. Just like, what is the meaning of the like in general meaning of the word classic? Well, like when a work or a writer or a movie, sometimes we call a movie that this is a classic movie, this is a classic music, this film director is a classic director, like this we call Satyajit Ray. So what is classic? So when when a work or a writer or whatever we call classic, when that is of such a high authority that it is remembered as a masterpiece and as an excellent work, and that is remembered through the ages, like remembered like after a long time, this is still remembered, when that is called classic. Now what is classical literature? So classical literature are the literature or the literary works of of great qualities, and those are produced before a long time and still remembered, those works as a masterpiece. Those are the classical literature. Now the third question is, what is then European classical literature? So European classical literature are the literature, like the masterpiece or the great literature produced in ancient Greece and Rome. So those are of like the such a high quality. Those are still we are reading those books, and those books are in our syllabus. So those are obviously the masterpiece, and those were produced before a long time, that is in ancient Greece and Rome. So those are the European classical literature. So now let's talk about who were the writers, the famous writers of ancient Greece and Rome, who were the classical writers. So when we talk about the great classical writers from the Greece, then we have to talk about Aristotle, we have to talk about Plato, and the famous Greek classical writers are Aristotle, Plato and Longinus, and famous Roman classical writers are Ovid, Horace and Juvenal. So when we talk about European classical literature, it is very important to know about Plato's views on art and Aristotle's definition of tragedy and the structure of tragedy and the elements of tragedy, etc. These are the very important things to know when you are studying European classical literature. So first we will talk about Plato. So Plato was a very famous Greek philosopher and a critic, and his most famous book was Republic, that is written in 10 books. So now we will talk about Plato's views on art. It is very important. So Plato, according to Plato, art is an inferior imitation of the ultimate reality. So why he is saying that this is inferior imitation, that I will talk in the next point. So if you understand the next point, it will be easier to understand this point. So Plato, according to Plato, Plato divided the whole world in two parts. So in the first part, there is he said that it is a spiritual realm or the ideal realm. So in this world is beyond our we cannot see this world, it is beyond the material things. So this world is full of ideas, and this world is unchanging, and there is no change in this world, and everything is ideal in this world and perfect. And now let's see the second world. So the first there is spiritual world or the ideal world, and the second world is the physical world that we see in front of us. All the worldly objects or the material things are there in this world. So according to Plato, all the things are there in this world, like all the material things are the imitation or the imitative images of the ideal world, the ideas which are there in the ideal world or the spiritual world. So as these material things are the copy of the ideal world, so these are not original, and everything in this world are changing and not perfect. And now let's see what are the writers doing. So when a writer writes something, he copies the things he is seeing in front of him or her. So whatever is written in literature is the copy of the material things which we are seeing in front of us. So according to Plato, the literature is twice removed from the ultimate reality. So ultimate reality was in the that's the spiritual realm or the ideal world, and then there is physical world. So physical world is a copy of the ultimate world. So and literature is again the copy of the physical world. So first there is spiritual world, then there is physical world, and then again there is the literature. So the literature here is twice, this is reality, and literature here that is twice removed from reality. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. Still, if you cannot understand it, you can tell me. You can tell me in the comment section or in Telegram. I will try to elaborate it more. Okay, let me give another example to make it clear, like the what is the ideal world and the physical world. Suppose there is an idea of chair. Okay, so the idea of chair, as it is the idea, it belongs to the ideal world or the spiritual world. And then the chairs we see in front of us. So remember one point that I said, the ideal world is unchanging and perfect. And now think about the chairs. The chair I have in my house, that is different from the chair you have in your house, and the chair you have in your house, that is also different from the chair you have in your college or university. So these chairs are there in the physical world, that those are changing. So these are not perfect, like the chair I have in my house, that is different from yours. So these are changing. So first there is a concept of chair. Okay, so that's we cannot see, and that's the perfect idea. So these chairs are the copy of the ultimate reality. Okay, so I think now this point is clear to you, and if you face any doubt anytime, you can ask me. So now let's talk about the next point, that is the next view of art according to Plato. So according to Plato, art arouses passion and emotion and let them rule over intellect. So according to Plato, emotion and according to Plato, intellect are more more in a higher position than emotion and passion. So when we study literature according to Plato, then it arouses our emotion, and when we become emotional, we cannot find the ultimate truth. So this was the view of Plato. Now let's talk about the next point. So according to Plato, art also leads to immorality. How immorality? So Plato says Homer and like other classical writers, when they create like when they write literature, the characters they produce in that, like the gods or the heroes, we see that they have more moral flaws, like they have moral defects. Like we see the persons of higher authority have moral flaws, so that doesn't help to create a good character. Again, when a person is acting in a play, he or she is forgetting his own self and adapting the behaviors of another person, which is more often immoral. So that doesn't help in building character, like a good characters. So art leads to immorality according to Plato. And now the last point of Plato's views on art is art is the untruthful presentation of the reality. Because Plato said that Homer, who wrote Iliad, he was not a military general and he never fought any war. Still, he portrays the heroes in war. So how can he do that? So as according to Plato, art is the untruthful presentation of reality. These were Plato's views on art. So now I want to tell you something. So after hearing all this, you may think that so these all the negative sides of art and literature, so why we will study it? There is so many negative things. So for that, then when we will talk about Aristotle, you will see that Aristotle, who was a disciple of Plato, he did not agree with Plato's views on art. He challenged Aristotle disagreed with Plato's conception of art. So I think now if I start talking about Aristotle, so understanding all the things together, it will be like too much for you. So I think this video I will end it discussing Plato, and in the next video I will discuss Plato, like Aristotle's views of tragedy and all the things you should know about as a background study for European classical literature. I will talk about Aristotle and the like other things you should know about as a background study of European classical literature. But now I want to tell you something that is I think it would be helpful to you to study literature. So what I want to tell you that, so earlier before some time I told you that when you are hearing this, you may think that these all the negative sides of literature, so why we will study it? So for that I will tell you that when you are reading something in literature, you have to understand that it is not the ultimate truth. You have the whole right to question it. So as I said you that Aristotle, who was the disciple of Plato himself, he disagreed with Plato's conception. So whatever you will study, that you are studying this thing, so these were the Plato's conception. This like it is not the ultimate truth. So when you will study literature, many time you will study many things. So remember that the writer who is like when you will read novel or other text, so when a writer is writing this, he is writing from his conception of life. He is giving his perceptions. That's his conception of life. So that may differ to your conception, and you have the whole right to question that. It's never. That's the beauty of literature. Literature give you the whole liberty to criticize it, to analyze it, to question that. Like when you will study Indian classical literature, you have Abhigyana Shakuntalam. So when you will read that, you will see that women are presented as so vulnerable. The character of Shakuntala is vulnerable. But if you see, like later I will try to make another video about Indian classical literature, but I wanna tell it now that the character of Shakuntala, if you see that it is I think you know that it is adapted from the story of Mahabharata. But if you see the real story of Mahabharata, the character of Shakuntala is not that vulnerable that is presented in Kalidas's Shakuntala. So why this is presented like that? Because that was the patriarchal society, and Kalidas, as a member of the patriarchal society, he presented women as a vulnerable. So that's how you have to understand the things. It's not like the whatever you are reading you will trust it blindly. You have to question that. You have to understand that why the thing is written like that, why he is saying this, and you have to you have the whole right to criticize that, to question that. So always remember that. So when you was like studying literature, literature is cannot provide the whole life, that is the WHOLE. So when you are reading various books on literature, so suppose this is a circle, that is WHOLE. So and the literatures, the books are the HOLE, like HOLE hole. So those holes are there in the WHOLE. So the WHOLE is the whole life, and HOLE, if I had some board or paper, I could make you understand it better. I hope you understand that this is a circle. Suppose this is a big circle, that is life, that is WHOLE, and inside the big circle there are small circles, very very very, or lots of circles, small circles, those are HOLE. So literature are those HOLE. Those are trying to present the majority of the major things of the WHOLE. Okay, but that's not the whole WHOLE, that's the whole. So you have to understand it. Okay, that will help you later to study literature, to question it, and that's the beauty of literature. It gives you the whole liberty to question this. Okay, so maybe I told many like irrelevant, or I don't know if like it was not in sequence. So this was all about today's video, and this is the part 1 of the background study for European classical literature. In the next video I will end it, and that will be the part 2 of European classical literature. In that video I will cover the remaining things, Aristotle and other remaining things which you should know as a background study of European classical literature. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe my channel if you haven't done yet. Bye bye, take care.